this is something that I love about the think tanks, is they really, you know, you put a collection of 8 service leaders around a table, you give them an agenda, and you say, is that agenda good with everybody? And everyone agrees, and then 2 minutes later, the conversation has gone in a completely different direction. That's exactly what happened on this first session. And we actually started to really dig deep into the true value of data in field service. Let me just kind of pull through some of these different quotes from this first phase. And what we're going to do across this session, because obviously there's a lot of content to dive into here, we're just going to give you a helicopter view of some of the 3 key areas of each of the sessions. So the first thing that came out to me, everybody, you know, you were sat in this session with me, so I'm hoping that this resonates for you as well. I saw a real need for different service needs. I saw that evolving. Different customers have different needs. To kind of look at the quotes here, we've got Patrick Janssen, the manager for field service for VBR Turbine Partners, who work in the oil and gas sector. And Patrick said, some customers don't even want people to pick up the phone immediately. They're happy just to accept a longer response time. Other customers really have an essential piece of machinery that for them is critical to production. If they have a problem, they want you to pick up the phone immediately. It's quite a broad service level that we offer for our clients. It really is custom made. Eddie Storen, head of global services from Domino Printing Sciences. We provide a range of different services and offerings based on the complexity of our customers. For example, from large global customers to the other end of the spectrum, to smaller organizations where the production is seasonal with short production runs and high variation. This was something that came across with everybody around the table. There was, regardless of company size, regardless of sector, different companies seem to want, different service organizations had to offer different layers of service offerings depending on the customers they're looking at. I mean, one of the things that I found interesting was how the data, and touching on the remote services, the data, remote services and diagnostics was really helping these organizations drive the development of those different service offerings. Like I say, Kieran, this was one of the sessions that you were involved with. Perhaps you could share your reflections around that kind of initial challenge of different needs, different customers, and also how we utilize the data to make sure we're delivering those services.
Yeah. Well, Kris, thank you very much. What I really find interesting, maybe as a general comment for all the think tank sessions we had, this was the first session we had it on March 22nd. So I think that for most of the participants, it was either the first or the second week of the lockdown. Many of us were still in denial of COVID. And if we go through all the different think tank sessions, I saw the opinions and the perspectives of the participants changing over time. So to a certain extent, these think tank sessions are also a timepiece. Now, if I look at the remarks on this particular slide itself, different service needs different customers. And one of the words which strikes me very much in here is that you read, the word isn't used at all, but the voice of the customer is behind any of these 2 statements made by either Patrick or Eddie Storen. So the voice of the customer, and as part of COVID, we see that the voice of the customer is not a static thing. It changes over time, and COVID really has let us see that that voice of the customer can change rapidly or in a very short period of time. But again, going back to that voice of the customer, one of the most important thing is to understand or to listen to the voice of the customer and to know if what services you are offering or products, if they are critical for the customer. Because you can imagine, if you sell a product to a customer and that product isn't critical at all, then how are you going to sell services to that piece of equipment if it's not in a critical context? The more critical it is and the more you know about the usage of your pieces of equipment out there in the field. So if you can be asset-centric about it, the more you know, the more you can use the voice of the customer to really tailor your service offerings. And if I go to the statement of Eddie Storen, he says that we don't have a really big, or that's Patrick, we don't really have a very huge installed base, but any of those customers in their installed base have a very different use pattern. And just like you see in the statement of Eddie, you could say, arguably for sake, that a printer is just a printer. But in his business, it's not about the printer. It's about the context in which the printer is used. And that context is different for every customer. So again, the context, the voice of the customer, the volumes, is it seasonable, understanding the criticality, moving from fixing the downtime more to understanding the uptime. And in that understanding, we see that data will play a very important role, what we will see in the next few slides. But that uptime focus, the change of the voice of the customer, I think that really driving many of the conversations we had.